Hello and welcome to the Rank and Report football show from Washington, D.C. to London, England. I am your host, Adam Booker, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Mr. Haircut Charlie Gordon.
Yes, now he mentions it. Now he mentions it when prompted. I had to show Adam my brand new haircut today. After 6 months of growth, my lovely Turkish barber Sammy gave me a beautiful trim. He showed me the pizza oven that he built in his back garden. It was a really quite spiritual experience, me going to the barbers. But yes, I'm here. We're here to talk some football. We're here to essentially gloss over the fact that the European Super League actually happened in the last 2 weeks, which seems like just a fleeting nightmare. So yeah, that's where we are. Adam, I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I don't know what is the bigger talking point, the haircut or the Super League. But yeah, it was a rough 48 hours. It was an embarrassing 48 hours for about 10 people, but a rough 48 hours for millions of people.
Yeah, it was, like I said, I don't want to open a can of worms, but the interesting thing to me was the split camp between those who did think it was going to go ahead and those who didn't think it was going to go ahead. I didn't. I could not see any way that the thing would go ahead because I knew, sorry Adam, I knew as soon as one person does something brave, the rest will follow. And thankfully that is what happened.
Yeah, I'm pretty torn because everybody I talk to on the subject is English and they don't share in my capitalistic pessimism when viewing the world. Whereas like when I, as an American, saw this happening, I was like, okay, American capitalists have taken over the sport and it's dead forever. Whereas all the English people I spoke to, like close friends, were like, no way this is happening. But in my mind, it was like, why wouldn't this happen? This is capitalism. This is what it, not to get into economics and politics, but
God, it's a rabbit hole we could just spend hours going down. But thankfully, we're here to forget about it. And we're here to discuss the state of European football as if nothing has even happened. But thankfully, the events actually happening in the leagues, not on the field, not in the boardroom, have been very exciting over the last couple of weeks. There was honestly, I wanted to shoehorn about 15 teams into this top 10. I think there's a couple that will feel very much cheated that they didn't make it. Napoli and Dortmund, to name a couple. I feel bad for them because just want to get that out there before we begin. Napoli and Dortmund have been in fantastic form, but so have the 10 that are in the top 10. So yeah, it's been an interesting 2 weeks on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, before we get into those rankings, it's worth mentioning that only, 3 of our top 10 were Super League clubs. So Florentino's going to be a bit embarrassed when he listens to this podcast like he does every 14 days to find out that only 3 of his golden boys are in here. But on that note, why don't we get into our brand new European power rankings, Charlie?
Absolutely, yes. You're right, though. We've accidentally illustrated the point. 3 of the Super League teams in our top 10. That literally tells the whole story of why people were annoyed about it. We'll start off with number 10, and they are not one of the 3. Not even close. It is Monaco. Monaco, a team that have not featured in this top 10 very often at all. I think they might have got in once this season, but I really put my foot down this week. I'm all over Monaco because, get this, I just want to start Monaco off with a huge stat, which is they've now gone 9 full matches in all competitions without conceding a single goal. 9 matches without a single goal. That includes matches against Lyon, against Lille, who are both in the top 4 of those teams, and away at Nice. They've gone through those 3 and 6 other teams, conceding 0. And all of a sudden, that incredible form, which in the last 2 weeks includes a 2-0 win away at Lyon and a 1-0 win away at Angers. This incredible form has thrust them into the Ligue 1 title race. They're in 3rd place now, just 2 points behind Lille, and a point behind PSG. So it is finally poised in France at the moment. And Monaco have just come from nowhere. I have been eyeing them up for the last month or two. because it did seem as though this kind of form was coming, but I really didn't expect them to be this close to the top, this close to the end of the season. So, yeah, Monaco are in this position. Adam, what do you make of it?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the fact that they aren't conceding goals, but they are just so talented in attack. There's guys that, to me, we talk about these guys sometimes. It's like, oh, that's where they are now. They've got a couple of those strikers up top, the likes of Wissam Ben Yedder, who was incredible at Sevilla. He's got 18 goals in Ligue 1. Kevin Volland, who was ripping it up in the Bundesliga. He's got 15 goals. Stefan Jovetic, who at one point was supposed to be the next big thing, came to City on big money, didn't turn out to be what we thought he was, and kind of disappeared into the ether. And now he's starting on a French team that's up there in the title race. So look, you've got players like that put up big numbers in other perceived tougher leagues. It's no surprise they're going to do it in France. And yeah, like you said, they're fully in this title race, and they've got a huge clash, I think, next weekend against Lyon in the league. And that's really their only tough test in the final run into the end of the season. So they're just as much in this title race as PSG or Lille.
Yeah, their attack is very talented. You're exactly right. Ben Yedder's got 18 goals this season. Kevin Volland's got 15. We've always known Ben Yedder was a talented player, and to be fair, anyone who's played FIFA in the last 5 years will know that Ben Yedder is the best player on FIFA. He's probably better known for that than even his real life football exploits. But he's a very classy player, Ben Yedder. He can play all across the front line, and he scored a really delicious chip against Angers at the weekend. And I think another storyline to do with Monaco is Niko Kovac, the former Bayern manager, who didn't do a bad job at Bayern. But, I mean, winning the league, winning a couple of domestic cups and stuff, it's really difficult to judge whether you've been a success as the Bayern manager. But the fact is he left Bayern, went to Monaco, who are definitely a lesser club, no disrespect to Monaco. And I think when you look at the talent in his squad, they're nowhere near PSG, and I don't even think the talent compares to Lille either. So the fact that he's got them so close to the top, so close to the end of the season, means it's an incredible accomplishment, regardless of whether they see it over the line or not.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a really interesting title race in France, maybe the most interesting other than, maybe La Liga. So definitely one to keep an eye on. So Monaco are in at number 10, and we move on to number 9, and it is Real Madrid, who have fallen from their previous ranking of number 3, and that comes on the back of a 1-1 draw against Chelsea in the first leg of the Champions League semifinal, and then a turgid 0-0 draw against Betis in the league. They also beat Cadiz 3-0. Last time out, we spoke about them as probably being the favorites to win the title, just on the back of their experience and, their nous. But the tides have turned a little bit after that draw against Betis. I think the biggest thing, is something that we've just been banging on about is that we're still waiting for somebody to help Karim Benzema with the goal scoring. He's got 21 goals in the league. Next up after that is still Casemiro with 5 only. Asensio is right behind him with 4, and he's not even an automatic starter. And I wonder, Charlie, if Real Madrid might just be regretting letting Jovic go. I feel like they kind of gave up on him a bit too early.
Potentially, yeah. You could make that argument because he's done okay since he's gone to Frankfurt, Luka Jovic. But I guess they had to just make a real firm decision on Jovic because it wasn't working out for him at Madrid. There might have been some tension behind the scenes. I can't imagine Luka Jovic was too happy with how his spell at Madrid was going at the time. But luckily for Madrid, Benzema he can handle most of the workload on his own. And that's something that has been largely unknown for the last few years because players like Cristiano Ronaldo, I mean, obviously Ronaldo was the main guy there for so many years. So Benzema has played second fiddle to Ronaldo. Now the goals burden largely falls on him, and he's really delivered. He's massively delivered. I think they looked lackluster against Chelsea in their semi-final first leg, but I wasn't surprised one bit when Benzema pulled off that fantastic goal. Just a great bit of striking play. Dropped off the defender a yard because he anticipated that he was going to gather that flick on, headed to control, volleyed in, all in one swift motion. Just really classy stuff from Benzema. And you're right, we did say they were favourites a couple of weeks ago. Now, mathematically, you'd have to say Barcelona are in the best position, but you can't write them off, Adam, because, like we've said, they're just so composed in these situations. Why should they be scared? You know, they've been here a million times. So I think even though mathematically they might not be in the best spot in La Liga, I think there is still a strong argument to say that they will get it over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Barcelona haven't been the most consistent team all season, so they could easily drop points here and there. It's worth mentioning that Real have a ton of injuries. You know, no Ferland Mendy, no Sergio Ramos, who is the heart and soul of this club. And other than that, there's not much depth in this squad. You know, there's, like we said, there's no scoring depth. So the fact that they're still hanging around in most competitions with a lot of injuries and one goal scorer, it's still very impressive. And I think a lot of praise does have to fall on Zinedine Zidane, because I think we saw in the quarterfinal against Liverpool that he does have a bit of, you know, a tactical brain on him. I think he's always getting the kind of, you know, he's a good manager, and he just kind of throws some superstars out there and they win games for him. But, you know, we've seen him make tweaks here and there to allow a team that isn't in its best form to continue to thrive and get through matches. And I think a lot of praise has to go to Zidane.
Yeah, definitely, and he's gonna need to use that brain in the second leg, because I don't know if you've seen this news, Adam, but I believe Marcelo is suspended. Not even suspended. He's ineligible for the second leg because I'm going to stop. Have you heard this story before I finish my sentence?
Yes, and I know it has to do with you know, taxes and stuff, which in Spain the whole thing just confuses me.
So what I've heard is Marcelo is going to be absent from the second leg. That is their starting left back. Well, when Ferland Mendy's out of the equation, he started the first leg. He's set to be absent because he's been called up for mandatory service at a Madrid polling station. Madrid lost their appeal because football was not deemed a good enough reason to kind of overturn that mandatory service. So absolutely bizarre situation. Part of me has to believe that if someone like Sergio Ramos, if he was fit, was in that kind of situation, they would find a way. They would just find a way. Florentino would slip some money under the table or something. But yeah, so Zinedine Zidane is going to need to use his tactical brain to overcome these little humps in the road, and also overcome the fact that Chelsea just looked much better than them on the day.
Yeah, they did. You're right. The Marcelo situation is insane, and one way to get around it could be to pack up and leave and play in a closed-off league in Qatar. Maybe Florentino will consider that. But yeah, bizarre situation. Real Madrid are in at number 9, and we move on to number 8, and that is, Charlie.
That is Atalanta, a team who were top of our very first rankings all the way back at the beginning of the season. Who'd have thought, Adam? Who'd have thought they'd still be lurking in this top 10 all these months later, now that we're towards the end of the season? But here they are, second place in Serie A. What a season it's been for Atalanta. It's been very up and down. The start was massively up. Middle was kind of patchy. Now they're coming back up again. All the way up in second. Last 2 games, a 1-1 draw away at Roma and a 5-0 thrashing at home to Bologna. And I have to say, before that Roma game, they did also beat Juventus 1-0 as well. So Gasperini's team really firing on all cylinders. Luis Muriel, 22 goals for the season. Zapata's got 17. So the usual suspects really doing the business for Atalanta, who had 25 shots in that Bologna game, by the way, which isn't surprising. They've been doing that all season, but that's a shot every 3.5 minutes from the first kickoff to the last whistle. They're just peppering the goal, absolutely peppering the goal. And their attack looked as fantastic as ever, very fluid, very exciting. They're very much on the same page, the Atalanta front line. So yeah, I'm glad to see him back in the top 10, Adam, and it's much deserved.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And like you said, with that attack, I think on their day when Gasperini just kind of takes off the seatbelt and just lets them run free, they are probably the best team in Europe to watch just aesthetically. They play that 3-5-2 or a 3-4-1-2, and they just flood the opposition box with threats left and right. Like you said, the two Colombian strikers up top, you think of guys like Ilicic. Robin Gosens has 9 goals in the league from out wide on the left. But I think on the flip side, you have to give a lot of praise to Gasperini, because he has shown, and he's publicly stated that he made this switch, that when they need to be solid and they need to eke out a 1-0 against Juventus to keep themselves in the top 4 hunt, or they need to be solid to get through the group stage of the Champions League, whatever it is, they have the ability to do that. I think in years past we've seen this team just go all out attack, and if they don't win a game 4-3, 6-5, then they could lose it 2-0 because they just gave up too much space at the back. But we've seen from Gasperini the ability to put the handbrake on a little bit and be solid when you need to, like a typical Serie A team. And it's really impressive, and they fully deserve to be up there in that top 4 and even in that top 2 in Italy.
Yeah, and it's more than just that from Gasperini. He's done so well at bringing players through, spotting them from far-flung leagues. Gosens, you just mentioned, who really is one of the emerging stars this season. 10 goals, 6 assists in all competition. From left wing-back, he now has 5 caps for the German national team and is expected to start for them at the Euros. So that has been... And he signed from Heracles in the Eredivisie back in 2017. So this guy was just completely unknown. All of a sudden, Germany's left back at the upcoming Euros. So it's been a fantastic season to him. And just while we're on the topic of Atalanta, who have made their way up the rankings in Serie A, I would like to give a quick mention, because I know they won't get a mention in the rest of the episode, to AC Milan, who have just collapsed. Absolutely collapsed. I think they're down in 6th now, Adam, after being... I can't remember how many points clear it was, but it was a healthy amount of points, somewhere around the 8 to 10 points clear mark, much earlier on in the season. So Atalanta's rise has very much coincided with AC Milan's plummeting down the table in Serie A. But, good on Atalanta, poor AC Milan. That is how things stand at the moment.
Yeah, it has been an almighty collapse from Milan. I think they were in our top 4 for weeks on end at one point this season. And I know when we had a Serie A title chat, we were strongly considering them for the title. So yeah, a crazy collapse. But Atalanta are in at number 8, and we move on to number 7. And it is, Charlie, how the mighty have fallen. Bayern Munich in at number 7. Who were previously ranked number 5, and that number 5 was their worst ranking already this year, and they've dropped again 2 spots. And that comes off the back of another weird patch of form for them, and a 2-1 loss to Mainz, who granted are a red-hot team right now, but they also had a 2-0 win against Leverkusen and a 3-2 win against Wolfsburg. Those are 2 big wins. I think, Charlie, we have to talk a little bit about this dangerous zone that they're in, the kind of nothing to play for anymore territory that they're in, because, I think they're clear enough in the league and they're out of all the other competitions. And I think it really kind of shone through in that game against Mainz, where they were making uncharacteristic mistakes. There was a howler from Manuel Neuer. They're still going to wrap up the league title in the next few weeks, but I think they're just kind of in this no man's land where they don't really have anything to play for at the moment.
Yeah, it's almost like very few players involved at Bayern Munich, or manager for that matter. There's very little to play for at Bayern Munich at the moment. You would imagine 7 points clear, they will see the Bundesliga over the line. Hansi Flick it's now confirmed that he's not going to be there at the end of the season. So all that's in it for him, like you said, being that they're out of all competitions, is just to see the Bundesliga over the line. But on the topic of Hansi Flick, obviously big news this week for Bayern is that Julian Nagelsmann is the impending Bayern manager. They've snapped him up from RB Leipzig, apparently with a transfer fee of around 25 million euros, which I think they set the transfer record for a manager in the Bundesliga twice this season. Adi Hutter moving from Frankfurt was about 7 million euros. Marco Rosa moving from Leverkusen was 5 million. And then Nagelsmann has just come along and obliterated that record with 25 million. And it is just painfully predictable, really. It's like RB Leipzig mounted a good challenge to Bayern Munich for the majority of this season. But Bayern's response was essentially to come along and just nab two of the best things about RB Leipzig, arguably their best player in Upamecano, and their highly sought-after manager in Nagelsmann. So I guess, Adam, next season the Bundesliga is just going to be another no contest, sadly, for the neutrals like me and you.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the only positive I took out of this whole story was that Jesse Marsch is now confirmed as the new Leipzig manager. He was the manager at RB Salzburg, and he is an American, and he is considered the American coach out there. So that'll be exciting, at least for us Americans. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting because Nagelsmann, everywhere that he's been at Hoffenheim and RB Leipzig, he is the main guy. Like, there are no players bigger than him. The club is not bigger than him. And the club is made in his image. The team is made in his image. And it's a very unique image. And it's, he's got such incredible tactical nous that, everyone has spoken about. And he's considered probably the up and coming young manager. And it's going to be very interesting for him to now step into a role at Bayern where the club, the players, everything surrounding it, the drama, the intrigue, Hollywood FC, everything is bigger than you. And I think that's going to be a very interesting situation to see how he handles that. And, he's 33 years old? The guy could just run the Bundesliga for decades and decades and decades if he wanted to.
Yeah, that's what's troubling me, is the fact he's 33. He could be there for 10 years and still be a young manager. So, being a selfish neutral like I am, I don't want Bayern to hog Nagelsmann, for the next 10, 20 years. I want to see him go all around Europe because he is a fantastic manager, and it's going to be very interesting to see what he can do. I imagine it will bring tons of success, but I also hope that someone mounts a good challenge in the Bundesliga for them. I suppose another thing that's happened to Bayern this week is David Alaba. Really, it was expected to happen because Upamecano is coming in, but Alaba has reportedly agreed to join Real Madrid. Obviously, they're losing a senior player there, someone that's been at the club for a long time. He's been one of their best players for a long time as well. So Alaba's going. That's another thing that's happening. And I guess the only other storyline of a team that has got nothing to play for, I guess there's been quite a few considering, is Lewandowski is back into the side. He crowned his return with an injury time goal against Mainz. He now has 3 games left to get 4 goals to equal Gerd Muller's record of 40 in the Bundesliga. If he wasn't injured, he would have obliterated it by now. But I guess that's fate intervening. So yeah, I guess that's we've covered everything that is possible to cover about Bayern, Adam, which is quite impressive given we said that they've got nothing to play for.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's an interesting club. There's always something going on behind the scenes that's worth mentioning, no matter what's going on the pitch. So it should be an interesting next couple of years to keep an eye out for.
Definitely. And on that note, we move on to number 6, another massive club, and that is the Catalan giants Barcelona, who sit 3rd in La Liga at the moment. They are 2 points behind leaders Atletico Madrid, but crucially, they have 1 game in hand. They've moved up a little bit in our rankings. We had them 8th last time out. Now they're at number 6. Messi's got 30 goals for the season. Very average numbers for Messi. Fantastic for everyone else. Griezmann is in a fantastic run of form. He's got 13 for the season. He's scored in his last 3 games too, so it's great for Barcelona that he's not finally coming good, but he's in a great run of form at the moment, and that's going to benefit them at no end. Dembele's also got 8 goals. Last couple of games, they thrashed Getafe 5-2 at home, and an impressive 2-1 victory away at Villarreal, which is a very tricky place to go. And then, throw in a 4-0 Copa del Rey final thrashing of Athletic Bilbao. And it's been a great couple of weeks for Barcelona, Adam.
It has, and it's worth mentioning that as we record right now, they are beating Granada 1-0 in that game in hand 33 minutes into the game. So as it stands right now, they are sitting top of La Liga by 1 point. So they've taken control of the title race. It's now, if they finish this game on top, it's now in their hands. It's their destiny. So yeah, I mean, look, it's we've got to bring up Ronald Koeman, right? We've waxed lyrical about him all year, the development that he has had in this job. I think most people, when it was announced that they were hiring him, felt like there was a bit of, I wouldn't say nepotism, because he's managed other big clubs, no club nearly as big as this, but he's been around a bit, but he definitely, most people felt like he wasn't ready for this job, but he's come in. He's made tactical tweaks like switching to this back 3 or back 5 that stretched the pitch. It gave room to Lionel Messi, Antoine Griezmann, and everybody is benefiting from it. Whether it's players out wide or centrally, everybody is benefiting from it. I think in years past, you just had Messi pulling everybody through, and there was not really tactics to back him up. And now we have the tactics, and we have Messi, and we have Griezmann who's scoring goals, and it was looking like what could be a throwaway season. At the beginning of the season, there was so much going on off of the pitch, the money problems, the upcoming presidential elections. And now we're looking at them possibly finishing with a league and cup double, and that would be a really impressive season, Charlie.
Yeah, it shows how fickle Barcelona fans can be. No offence, Barcelona fans. No offence, but Ronald Koeman, a club legend, an experienced manager. He's been with the Netherlands national team. Imagine, you look at Chelsea and how they got behind Frank Lampard. Okay, granted, Koeman is not quite the legend that Frank Lampard was, but he was an unbelievable player in his day, and he had a really fruitful spell with Barcelona during his playing career. And a lot of people were just very quick to get on Koeman's back. And it's like they kind of expected him to fail. And I guess me and you were in that crowd at the start of the season because they weren't performing well. They were very erratic. But he made a bold call as the coach, switched to a back 3 a couple of months ago. And it's a risk that has just really paid off. I bet Koeman will be absolutely over the moon because it's a very obvious managerial, tactical switch. It's something that everyone can see he's done. He's switched around the formation. Barcelona's fortunes have just changed massively. Like you said, they're 1-0 up against Granada as it stands in this fantastic title race. They are now top of the league by a point. So yeah, I'm with you. Credit to Koeman. And I guess we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. But La Liga for me is the one which everyone has got to keep their eyes on, because now that Sevilla has entered the fray as well as dark horses, who knows what will happen between now and the end of the season.
Absolutely. And I think we'll use that as the perfect segue into number 5, and that is a club that you just mentioned, Charlie, and that is Sevilla, who were previously unranked. Somehow they've been just hovering at 11th in our top 10 for months now. They're finally in, and they skyrocket up into 5th spot. And that is because of some great recent results, a 2-1 win against Granada, a 1-0 win against Levante, and then a 2-1 win against Real Sociedad, who we all know is a very tough team to beat. Look, they're unbeaten in 8 straight domestic games. They are fully in this title race. They are 3 points back. Now 4 as Barcelona are beating Granada at the moment. But look, Youssef En-Nesyri continues to be an attacking force, 17 league goals. Papu Gomez is now chipping in as a creative outlet along with Lucas Ocampos. A guy in the back 4 that you and I have just raved about is Jules Koundé, who is an unbelievable player at the back. Great positional defender, but he's great with the ball in the air. And right now he's rightly linked with a big move to Real Madrid. But we've said time and time again, Charlie, that this team under Julian Lopetegui is just so solid, and almost like Real Madrid, they're just in every single game, and because of that, you can't count them out of this title race.
Absolutely not. And it's been, what a managerial comeback it's been for Lopetegui. He's been through more than most managers would go through in their entire career, and he's done it probably over the last 3 or 4 years. Obviously, he had that embarrassment with Spain at the World Cup, where he took the Real Madrid job just days before the tournament started, and they got rid of him. They wouldn't even let him see out the tournament. And just to top it all off, his time at Real Madrid was basically a catastrophic failure. So, I mean, that would knock a lot of people for six. He got another fairly big job here with Sevilla, and he's just worked absolute wonders. And, when the season plays out, it could be an absolutely magical season for Lopetegui. It really could. And his tactics are fairly old school when it comes to Sevilla. You look at En-Nesyri up top, 23 goals in all competitions, 0 assists, and that is because he is the big man in the middle. You look at his deputy up front, Luke de Jong, 6 goals, 0 assists, because they're not there to set anyone up. They've got lots of tricky little technicians behind them, Rakitic and Gomez in midfield. You've got Suso and Ocampos out wide, and Munir off the bench as well. They're the guys that are going to provide the goals. Luke de Jong and En-Nesyri are there to just finish the chances off. Simple as that. Big men in the box, lots of crosses, direct wingers. It does seem like a very old school tactic from Lopetegui, but one that is very much working. It's thrust them right back into contention in La Liga, and it would just be quite an incredible storyline. Several incredible storylines if they did manage to see it out and win the La Liga title.
Yeah, absolutely. And on Lopetegui and Real Madrid, next weekend, Sevilla are going to play Real Madrid in the league, and they could get 3 points in that, and they could overtake Real Madrid for fourth spot. Imagine Florentino Perez's Real Madrid in a Champions League playoff round at the beginning of next season. It would be unbelievable scenes. But yeah, anything could happen in Spain right now. It's a complete crapshoot. But yeah, Sevilla are in at number 5, and Charlie, we will move on to number 4.
Yep, number 4, we've got Inter Milan, who basically are this far down because their results have slightly underwhelmed, although they haven't lost. Okay, they are the definition of coasting at the moment, Inter Milan. They're in no competitions, just Serie A, and they're top of Serie A, 11 points clear of the nearest challengers, Atalanta. So, I mean, talk about coasting. Their last couple of results, a 1-1 draw away at Spezia and a 1-0 win at home to Verona. The game before that was a 1-1 draw away at Napoli, which is actually a very good result because, as we said right at the beginning, Napoli are in fantastic form. They basically came in 11th place in the rankings this week. So kind of results that don't knock your socks off. But the hard fact is, Inter are still undefeated since the 6th of January. That is almost 4 full months now undefeated for Conte's Inter Milan. And they have just stormed clear. They've proved the classier side. The classier side will always come to the fore over the course of a 38-game season. And that is exactly what's happened with Inter Milan. They're a very solid team. And yeah, they're going to win Serie A. That's what's going on, Adam.
Yeah, they are. The title is in the bag. And like you said, they're just coasting at the moment. But I think an interesting spin to take on Inter's remaining games this season is the role that they're going to play in the top 4 chase. Or actually not even top 4, but all of the European spots available in Italy. And, there's 2 huge games that they have remaining this season. And that is a game against Roma, who are just hovering right outside of that final Europa League spot. And then they also will play Juve on the final day of the season. And Juve right now, whose top 4 hopes are just hanging in the balance. So, we've seen Inter be, at the beginning of the season, they were not a big game team. They absolutely were not a big game team. That's how they crashed out of the Champions League. But on the back end of the season, we saw them regularly beating Atalanta, AC Milan, Napoli, clubs that they needed to hurdle over to get to this title. And so I think from here on out, it's just their role is going to be top four spoilers.
Basically, yeah, they're here to spoil the party of their peers, at the top of Serie A. And I'm sure they will want to win. They will want to see out the season in absolute style. Conte's a winner. Players like Lukaku, Martinez will be wanting to add to their massive goals totals this season. Lukaku's on 25. He'll be thoroughly enjoying his time in the spotlight, gaining praise from all around Europe. So there's no doubt that people have something to play for. And I know in Italy it gets ferociously competitive. And I think a lot of people who've seen the likes of Juventus absolutely thriving over the past decade in Serie A, the more cynical ones among them would love to see them kind of fail this season and drop out of the European spot. So in terms of the whole storyline in the Italian league, Inter do still have a massive part to play. Thankfully, their own pride is not, their own tangible, results aren't really at stake, but they can definitely have a big say in how the table looks at the end of the season.
Absolutely. All right, Inter are in at number 4. We move on to number 3, and that is PSG, who were previously ranked in that number 4 spot, so they jump up 1, and that is despite a 2-1 home loss in the first leg of the Champions League semifinal against Manchester City. But to add to that, they had a 3-1 win against Metz and a 5-0 thrashing of Angers in the French Cup. Look, it was a tough defeat in the Champions League, but we saw in 45 minutes of that just how good they can be on their day. But they've won 4 straight domestic competitions. They're still 1 point back from Lille in the Ligue 1 title race. I expect them to still win the league. Like you said, the classier side is going to show up on the top of the table at the end of 38 games, and I believe that PSG are the class of this league. It's getting down to the wire. It's getting a bit nervy. As Sir Alex would say, it's squeaky bum time. But I still expect them to win the league.
It really is getting nervy. I think it would be really, I don't want to say embarrassing, but it would be a terrible result for the season if PSG don't win the league. And of course, if they do end up getting knocked out of the Champions League by Man City, but I don't want to jinx that yet. There's still a long way to go. But I saw an interesting take yesterday, actually, which is, I saw it at half-time when I was kind of trying to fight back the tears reading through Twitter at half-time because of City's pretty terrible first-half display, and PSG were really all over them. They could have been 2-0 or even 3-0 up. And obviously the Champions League is the real big elephant in the room for PSG. It's the one they've been trying to win for the last decade, really. But, seriously trying to win in the past 5 years. They've placed a massive emphasis on it. And I saw one journalist say that being in this title race, as they are, right in the midst of it, they're not even on top, they're in second place, right in the middle of this title race. Being in that spot this far into the season may actually help them kind of maintain that level of intensity in the later rounds of the Champions League. And when I read that, I was thinking, it was half-time, City were 1-0 down. I'm thinking, he's right, we're absolutely mullered. But obviously, fortunes change round for City. PSG, I don't know. I guess we'll wait till we get onto City till we discuss that game a little bit further. But they're an extremely classy side. Neymar showed just how good he was in the first half of that City game. And you can never write them off. I don't care. Even if we were 3-1 up in the first leg, when it comes to the second leg, they've got so much talent, so much quality. And Mbappe had such a quiet night that you just never know. Maybe he's going to get unleashed in the second leg. So they're a team that you can never write off just because of their talent, Adam.
Absolutely. It'll be really interesting to see that second leg and just how they come out. I would assume it would be hell for leather and just unleash the dogs, but it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how this title race shapes up as well. So PSG are in at number 3, and we move on to number 2.
Yep, number 2 is Chelsea. Chelsea, who are flying high. It's quite simple, really. I'm shocked to say it because they were nowhere earlier on in the season, but Chelsea are just one of the best teams in Europe right now. And there is a strong possibility. You could make a case for them being, I was going to say the best team left in the Champions League. Certainly, if City get to the final, I don't want to play Chelsea. I'd rather play Real Madrid. And that shows just how incredibly far they've come in such a short space of time. Despite they're not a well-oiled machine yet, Chelsea. They're really not. When you look at the fact Tammy Abraham is still their top scorer with 12 goals in all competitions this season, despite the fact he can't even get a sniff of the pitch under Tuchel. He's third choice striker. He can't get anywhere near it. Werner, 11 goals for the season, and he is not... He's doing a lot of things right, Werner, but putting the ball in the net is not one of those things. You know, he makes fantastic runs. He works hard the whole game, but his finishing has been pretty dreadful this season, really. So there's so much more to come from this Chelsea side. They're looking good in their tie with Real Madrid, poised to potentially get to the final of the Champions League under Tuchel. They're looking good in the Premier League. They're now sitting fourth spot after a crucial 1-0 away victory against West Ham. Before that was a disappointing 0-0 draw at home to Brighton. But I guess they're in the spot now, Adam. Chelsea are in the spot where exactly where they want to be. You know, they're not chasing anything really anymore. They've just got it's all in their hands now.
Absolutely, and I mean, you said it all right there. Really, they've been so solid under Tuchel since he came in for Frank Lampard. They've launched themselves back into the top four, all the way to a Champions League semifinal, an FA Cup final that they're going to be strong favorites in. So, they're in my eyes, there are actually a ton of similarities that you can draw between Chelsea and City. And, most people would consider City to be a top 2 team in world football. And that is they don't give much away. They are lightning quick when they turn it on. And the issue is they just don't score a lot of goals. And I think we've said this so many times about so many teams this season, but if you just teleported a world-class number 9 up top for Chelsea, they would steamroll everybody they play. We saw it in Madrid. They created chance after chance. They couldn't take those chances, but they could have easily left Madrid with a 3-4-1 win.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought, even aside from the match with Madrid, the way they dispensed of City in the FA Cup semi-final was hugely impressive as well. I've not seen a team beat City like that for quite a long time. I'm casting my mind back to the beginning of the season because they didn't counter us. They put bodies in our half of the pitch and they just went toe-to-toe and they just played much better than us. And that was quite a sobering reality, really. That's why, as a City fan, I would be so desperate to not face them in the final of the Champions League because we've seen it so recently, just a week or two ago. Chelsea just... Tuchel's brave. He's a brave man. He battled us head on, and they came out on top. They were the better side on the day. So, big FA Cup final coming up for Chelsea. Top 4 battle, Champions League semi-final, second leg. There's a big few weeks coming up, and I'm sure the fans are just frothing at the mouth with it all.
Exactly, and it's crazy to think about. Everybody's talking about City and their quadruple and treble hopes, and we could easily have a Champions League FA Cup double from Chelsea when they were stuck in the mud under Frank Lampard. So very impressive turnaround under Tommy Tuchel. Chelsea are in at number 2, and we move on to our final spot, the top spot. And no surprises here. It is Manchester City, who had a big 2-1 win in Paris in the first leg of the Champions League semi-final. Massive turnaround in the second half. Really impressive performance in the second half to get those 2 away goals. And to compound that, they had a 1-0 win over Tottenham in the League Cup final to secure their first piece of silverware this season, and then a 2-1 win against Villa in the league. Look, we've kind of waxed lyrical about them all year, over and over and over, and we can chat a little bit about that PSG game, but for me, there's one place that you start, and that is the City defense. Diaz and Stones, or Laporte and Diaz, whoever it may be, in 270 minutes of football against Haaland and Mbappe, they 1 shot on target, no shots for Harry Kane in a cup final. I mean, they are just pocketing the cream of the crop when it comes to attacking talent in Europe. And this is a City defense that's been ripped to shreds in seasons past, and with the snap of a finger, it's been locked up.
Yeah, it's Ruben. It's Ruben. Ruben comes on screen, and my heart just warms because he, Stones plays his part. He really does. Against PSG, I didn't see any glaring mistakes from Stones or anything like that. But Diaz, time after time, was sticking his foot in, intercepting passes. He was just exceptional. Even the first half, I saw a lot of people kind of rinsing a few City players at half time. I thought Diaz kept us in that game. Obviously, PSG could have finished a couple of their chances, and it would have made it a lot more difficult for City. But Diaz pretty much single-handedly kept us in that game. And I think if we had a more fragile defender in there from years gone by, think of your Eliakim Mangalas, if we're going way back.
Whoa.
If we're going way back,
The last, I hate to butt in, but the last Manchester City centre half to go to the Parc des Princes and pocket PSG attackers was Eliakim Mangala. So do not forget that.
Listen, my heart would be beating so much faster if he was there in the defence. We've had some calamitous defenders over the years. Your likes of Stefan Savic, Matija Nastasic, they all kind of bring nightmares. But, we've got Ruben Diaz now. He was fantastic. And the extent to which he pocketed Mbappe yesterday, you will love this stat. I guarantee, Adam, you will love this stat, okay? Last night, PSG versus Man City at the Parc des Princes, Champions League semi-final, first leg. It was the first game in Mbappe's career in which he has started and not registered a single shot.
Woo!
Yeah, so that's that's the extent to which, especially in the second half, I've never seen pocketed like it. City were just all over them, and I think the tactics really did change at half time. Just to briefly go over it before I let you loose, because I'm just on a roll here, Adam. But what in the first half, I think City gave PSG too much respect. Instead of pressing them high up the field, pressing their defenders and their defensive midfielders who were kind of average on the ball, they waited until they got further up the field. And when you press someone like Neymar, he's just going to absolutely embarrass you. And that's what he did. He absolutely ran the show. But in the second half, City just mastered the art of winning the ball high up the pitch, and PSG could barely get out of their final third. And I think that is basically the storyline of the game, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right there. In the first half, they let the ball get up to Verratti, Mbappe, Neymar, and Di Maria, and guys like that, the ball is glued to their foot, so you're not going to get it off them. I mean, I even have my dad, who doesn't watch the sport much, texting me in the first half being like, God, these guys are really, really good. And they were. But like you said, the tactical shift was basically to say, hang on, we're the team that's won 18 straight away games. We're the team that went on a 21-game winning streak. Let's go out and play our game. And when Pep Guardiola let them do that, they reaped the benefits. So, yeah, hugely impressive second half, and another impressive little 2-week window since our last rankings, and City deservedly come in at number 1, Charlie.
Definitely, and just to round it off, because I did this last time, I mentioned the Q word, I jinxed it. Straight after that, we lost to Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final. I'm now going to talk about just the T word. I'm not going to talk about it, but I just to lay out where City stand on these competitions. The Carabao Cup is in the bag, won. The league is effectively won as well. They're 10 points clear in the league. And the Champions League, I'm not going to mention anything about Champions League. I'm not going to, other than the fact they're still,
just end it there.
They're still in it. Okay, they're still in it, and that's it. So yeah, that concludes City number 1. Thanks to their big wins over the past couple of weeks.
All right, so that wraps up our brand new European power rankings. Just to run through that 10-1 one more time in case anybody forgot. In at number 10 was Monaco, 9 Real Madrid, 8 Atalanta, 7 Bayern Munich, 6 Barcelona, 5 Sevilla, 4 Inter Milan, 3 PSG, 2 Chelsea, and 1 Manchester City. Charlie, before we get out of here, I want to encourage everybody to hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, hit the follow button on Spotify, leave a rating, leave a review, tell your mom, tell your brother, tell your sister. That's the best way to get this show out to everybody. You can find us on Twitter at @rank_report. Just drop us your comments, what your top 10 are. If you think, we're talking absolute rubbish, let us know. If you agree with everything we're saying, let us know. We want to hear from you guys. I think, Charlie, we will be back with a double episode week next time we're here. We're going to do our new power rankings, and we're going to look ahead to what looks to be, depending on who goes through, a very exciting Champions League final.
Definitely. We'll be back. I want to thank you, Adam, for joining me. Thank you to the listening audience. I think the last episode got a few cheeky little downloads, so if you're still here, thank you for listening to our voices. And yeah, so 2 weeks' time, big week. Like you said, double episode, so everybody be on the lookout.
All right, see ya.